Greetings Nephalem, welcome back to another video. Today we're taking a look at a very synergistic single target burn build that will be perfect at taking down world bosses. It revolves around Combustion key passive and Greater Fireball. Combustion will give us a damage multiplier based on the number of sources of burn we've applied. For instance, if we apply 11 sources, we'll get a 44% damage multiplier. Greater Fireball is a very interesting modifier of Fireball. It makes it so that Fireball deals 10% of the burning damage we've applied to the target as additional direct damage. The way the build works is we're going to apply up to 11 sources of burn to the boss. Then we'll continuously shoot it with Fireball while it's burning for a huge amount of damage. That's the damage rotation we're going to repeat over and over. We're using Firebolt as an enchantment. It says, direct damage from spells, apply 23% of that damage as a burning dot over 8 seconds. It means every time we deal non-burn damage to the boss, we apply 23% of that damage over 8 seconds as additional damage over time. Let's look at the non-burn damage we're modifying this way. Hydra. The base damage of Hydra is pretty high, that's why we're putting 5 points. We're modifying Hydra with the Serpentine aspect to have 2 Hydras out, so that's 2 additional sources of burn that get refreshed every time Hydra attacks the boss. Sources of burn damage so far, 2. Meteor. Meteor deals 2 different types of damage when it connects. The flat damage up front and the 3 seconds burn. Thanks to the Firebolt enchantment, 23% of the upfront flat damage is added as a dot. We're further modifying Meteor with the aspect of Sharded Star, which makes meteorites fall around Meteor, dealing flat damage plus an additional 6 seconds burn. 23% of that new upfront flat damage is added as another dot. All in all, Meteor adds a total of 4 different dots to its target. Not bad for a single spell. We're only putting 1 point in Meteor because the base flat damage and even the base dot damage are not very high. We're using it as a supporting skill because we want the quadruple burn to boost Combustion. So far, with Hydras and Meteor, that's a total of 6 sources of burn we've applied to the boss. Just a quick side note, that's how things should work in theory, but you can expect me to extensively test those mechanics and report on the channel how stuff works, including all the damage multipliers. So don't forget to subscribe to get the latest update about everything the Sorcerer class has to offer in Diablo 4. On to Fireball. As I said earlier, Fireball will add a chunk of the burn damage as additional flat damage. Well, guess what? 23% of that huge flat damage is added as additional burn, and funnily enough, when your next Fireball hits, a portion of that burn from the Firebolt enchantment will double dip. So that's 1 more burn damage, making it a total of 7 so far. Next damaging spell, Teleport. Yes, in Diablo 4, Teleport is a damaging skill. The way you want to use Teleport is of course to dodge one-shot attacks from the boss, but in a way that will position you close enough to the boss to apply this tiny teleport damage and, more importantly, that additional dot from the Firebolt enchantment. So far, that's 8 different dots from all those spells. Now let's look at the pure burn spells. We have Firewall. It's a pure burn spell and the base damage is very high, so we want 5 points in it. We now have 9 sources of burn. Next, we have Firebolt itself. We'll be casting that basic spell every 4 to 8 seconds for a few different reasons. Firebolt applies an 8-second dot, so that's our 10th source of burn. Last but not least, we have our ultimate Inferno. That adds quite a lot of burn damage over 8 seconds. In total, we now have up to 11 different sources of burn in this build. Therefore, Combustion will grant us up to 44% damage multiplier. Now what do we do once we have applied all those sources of burn? Well, we're going to shoot Fireball at the boss during the 4 seconds when our Pyromancy skills cost no mana thanks to the Inferno ultimate. During those 4 seconds of recasts, we will ramp up our mana cost reduction buff, Soulfire. Soulfire reduces our Pyromancy skills mana cost by 15%. Besides Inferno, the Incendiary aspect will make sure that we are staying at full mana. It says, on a burning lucky hit, we have a 10% chance to restore 10 mana. Being at full mana is very important because we want to permanently benefit from the holy trinity of damaging aspects on the Sorcerer: Accelerating aspect, Elementalist aspect, and Edgemaster's aspect. Fireball, Firewall, and Meteor will get a 50% increased critical strike chance if cast above 100 mana. All damaging skills get a 68% damage multiplier when cast at full mana, and our attack speed is permanently increased by 40%. Those numbers come from the fact that we're equipping the Edgemaster's aspect on a two-handed weapon and the Elementalist's aspect on our amulet. Speaking of damage multipliers, we'll be taking a few more from the skill tree. We'll increase the damage of our core skills with Elemental Dominance. We'll increase our critical strike damage against burning enemies thanks to Devouring Blaze, and we'll increase our overall damage while healthy with Inner Flames. Endless Spire will increase our burn damage by 15% after burning enemies for 5 seconds. Some spell modification notes of interest include Enhanced Mage Firewall, which applies a 25% damage multiplier to burning spells and make enemy burn for 3 seconds after leaving Firewall. Invoked Hydra. After a critical strike, thanks to the Elementalist aspect for instance, Hydra gains 30% increased critical strike chance for 3 seconds. Looking at the defensive nodes, we want 3 points in Align the Elements to make sure we don't die from those one-shot telegraphed skill shots from the boss. The Aspect of Might reduces damage taken by 25% for 8 seconds after using a basic skill. And remember, we're firing a firebolt every 4 seconds. The aspect of Disobedience is a very versatile damage mitigation aspect, increasing our armor by just being in combat. Shimmering Teleport reduces damage taken by 30% for 5 seconds, and will be trying to reset its cooldown every 10 seconds thanks to the Elemental Attunement node. And finally, Warmth will give us a little bit of health regeneration over the course of the boss fight. Our second enchantment offers room for customization. We'll be wanting either Firewall or Meteor to be autocast. It would be more logical to have Meteor because we have to refresh its burn every 3 seconds, while Firewall offers a solid 8-second burn. But given the very low proc chance of Meteor on lucky hits, it is more reliable to have Firewall as the second enchantment. For Paragon Boards, you want to be rushing the Burning Instinct. Your burning damage is increased by 40% of your critical strike damage, further increased by 5% for every 20 intelligence you have. Then, you want to be rushing the Searing Hit. Casting Fireball or Meteor increase the critical strike chance of further cast of that skill by 5% for 5 seconds, up to 15%. And finally, you want to reach the Enchantment Master. Your enchantments are 20% stronger. For your Glyphs, I would recommend using Destruction. Critical strikes increase all damage the enemy takes from you by 2% for 10 seconds, up to 12%. Core skills deal plus 19.2% increased critical strike damage. Flame Feeder. You deal 10% increased direct damage to burning enemies. You also deal 9.6% increased damage to burning targets. Pyromaniac. Every pyromancy skill you cast increases your fire damage by 2% for 6 seconds, up to 10%. It also gains Paragon nodes within range gain plus 192% bonus to their fire damage and damage reduction modifiers. Conjurer. Conjuration skills have 20% increased duration. Conjuration skills also gain 19.2% increased damage. And finally, some uniques you can consider dreaming of. Staff of Endless Rage. Every third cast of Fireball launches 2 additional projectiles. Temerity. Effects that heal you beyond 100% life grants you a barrier up to 100% of your maximum life. Ring of Starless Skies. Each consecutive core skill cast reduces the resource cost of your next core skill by 10%, up to a maximum of 30%. If you've enjoyed this build guide and want me to make more build guides like this one, please hit the like button and say something nice in the comment section of the video. If you're looking for a clan offering PvP activities, speed farming and speed leveling group play, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned. I'll see you in Sanctuary, Nephilim.